When the light has purified everything, all that is left is darkness. Let's explore it here, apparently. Hey guys, this is GamerCal. Welcome to another Pokemon Trading Card Game History video. I've just come off of the set rotation thing. It's been like 50 minutes, so apologies if I'm a little kooky or hoarse or anything here. We're just gonna do it anyway because I'm on a roll for this now. Dark Explorers, the apex of 2012, our final set before Worlds. And oh boy, what a set this is too. So, picture this. We have just come off of Next Destinies, which is the reintroduction of the EX mechanic, and effectively Mewtwo EX, the set. You basically had to play Mewtwo, and if you didn't play Mewtwo, you immediately died. And then we have this set. And this set immediately introduces something designed to completely eclipse Mewtwo in terms of its power level. And, well, it does a pretty damn good job of it too, if I do say so myself. I've had some arguments with Pal on this, as Pal still thinks that Mewtwo EX was like the massive over-dominating thing of the format. And, like, I get it, but Darkrai-EX just kind of outdid Mewtwo in a lot of ways, and it's really dumb, to be honest. I don't like it, but it's just like, man, Darkrai was not the answer that we needed to deal with Mewtwo. Very, very accelerated power creep going on here. So let's go over the EXs first here, because I think all of these actually saw some success at some point or another. Kind of crazy that, yeah, all of these are good-ish? Let's go over them. Entei EX famously won Canadian Nationals. I still have no idea how, but having played with the deck that won a little bit, it's interesting. 180 HP fire Pokemon, weak to water of course, but water decks not the most prevalent at this current point in time. Free energy retreat cost is big because that means you can heavy ball for it, so that's a good point in its favor. And its attacks, this is where it kind of lost me a fair bit. Fire Fang for a fire and a colorless does 30 and auto burns. That's kind of cool, I suppose. And Grand Flame, the big finale attack here, 2 fire and a colorless to do 90. Huh. Attach a base fire energy from your discard pile to one of your bench Pokemon is actually good, don't get me wrong. So you can use that to accelerate to other Entei, if you can get the first one going. But how are you getting the first one going? You certainly don't play this in Emboar, because Emboar doesn't need something that does this little damage. You just play Reshiram in that deck, right? And it's fine. You're not even discarding energy in that deck, so I don't know what you do with it there. It played in its own deck, with, I believe it was 2 Terrakion and a Smeargle, I think was like the only other Pokemon. And it was designed as a tank deck, where you use like all the potions ever. There's max potion you could play, Eviolite obviously helps out. But it's just like you're free-shotting an EX which has an Eviolite attached. I struggle to really see how it ends up functioning, but it's also the kind of thing that I don't think I'd want to sit across from either, because it's just annoying. Kyogre had exactly one deck that it was good in, but it won US Nationals, if I remember rightly, from John Roberts II. So, yeah, actually a really cool deck. I might play this one. There's a few decks in this format that I want to play. 170 HP, so a little bit frailer for an EX. Smash Turn for Water Colorless does 30, and you may switch this Pokemon with one of your bench. You probably will, because that's just not something you want to leave in the active, right? But that's fine. Technically, I suppose this could be a Gothitelle hit and run dude, right? But I don't know why you would. Dual Splash is the main attack here. 2 water and colorless, 50 damage to 2 of the opponent's Pokemon. Now, I just dunked on Entei for not doing a lot of damage, and you may think, why are you thinking this is okay then? Because it's only doing 50. It's doing 50 to 2 separate Pokemon, and also it hits a type which is not commonly hit at the moment, and it was used as a one-of in a deck that was actually focused on the Groudon more than anything, which we will get to later, and this actually sets up Groudon perfectly. So it was important for the deck that it was in. 4 energy retreat cost as well means you can heavy ball this guy out, so Yeah, the lightning weakness is rough, don't get me wrong. With electric being so good right now, lightning is a tough thing to be weak to. But this card did serve a very good purpose, and yeah, it's integral to the deck. Not much else to say. Raikou, Lightning, 1 energy retreat. We never see a Suicune-EX, by the way. Very sad. But 170 HP again, a little bit on the frailer side, but a 1 energy retreat is fantastic because it means Sky Arrow Bridge could make it a 0 retreater, and you really want this guy to be a 0 retreater when you see the attacks here. Thunderfang for Lightning and Colorless does 30, and if you flip heads, the defending Pokemon is now paralyzed. Pretty fine. The Dynamo that gets used because of Thunder Wave, so pretty good. And then Volt Bolts for 2 Lightning and a Colorless, and you really want to lean into that Colorless here. You discard all the Colorless energy that's on, all the Lightning energy, sorry, that's on this Pokemon, and then you do 100 damage to one of the opponent's Pokemon. Snipe 100 any way you want. This kills an opponent's Electric. Really, really good. Yeah, 1 energy retreat as well, so like I said, Sky Arrow Bridge makes it super solid. And if you play a secondary type, which spoilers, you will next set, this is super good. 100 Snipe is very good at dealing with everything that isn't specifically an EX. And if there is EXs, or like the big basic hitters there, that's still really good, right? Like, you're hitting 2-shot numbers on bench stuff. So if the opponent switches out their guy, or if you catch her in a big dude with no energy on it or something, and then Volt Bolt the thing that they had active, yeah, 100 Snipe is not to be underestimated. Blastoise made it work really well. This does the same. The Kyogre was setting up this Groudon over here. I actually really like this Groudon artwork. I don't know why. It's just like it's the background. It's the same background as what Terrakion has, and it's awesome. 180 HP, weakness to water, not really too relevant. Resistance to lightning, really good. So that's solid base stats down the bottom. Tromp for 1 fighting, 1 colorless, does 20, so very little. But it also does 10 to each of the opponent's bench Pokemon. So you can spread damage around. This is a very good early game tactic as well, because Giant Claw is the attack that Kyogre is setting up, and technically this guy as well. 2 fighting and colorless to do 80, so a bit below the belt, but if the defending Pokemon already has 2 or more damage counters on them, this does 40 more damage. So you effectively, if the opponent only has 2 damage counters on them, you effectively do 140 damage, right? Or you have put 140 on them. But if you set up Dual Splash, then this suddenly does 170 equivalent, which is enough to KO the lower HP EXs like Mewtwo. You do need a little bit more to KO the higher up ones though, so that's where Tromp comes in, right? So you have a little bit of a setup between these two, and they're tanky enough, obviously being EXs, that you max potion them around as well. Hey, how are you going to max potion with energy costs like this? Well, because we have Prism Energy, we have Rainbow Energy, and we have a Kling Clang is what was used in the Nat Splitting deck, where Kling Clang lets you shift any Metal Energy from your Pokemon to anywhere else you want. The Prism Energy and the Rainbow Energy both count as metal, and they fuel the attack cost here. So this is Rainbow, I guess a Rainbow tank deck. Maybe the first one that we've seen? Very, very cool nonetheless. Then we get the big guy himself, Darkrai-EX. This card just does everything, and it's ridiculous. 180 HP, so it's tankier than the Mewtwo. Fighting weakness is really big. It's one of the defining features of this format, is that fighting is such a good type to hit because of the lightning and the dart decks now. Psychic resistance, so it does take less damage from Mewtwo. This is very relevant. Dark Cloak, for its ability, lets any of your Pokemon that has a darkness energy attached to it have no retreat cost. Super critical in a lot of different decks, not just its own. And then Night Spear for 2 dark and a colorless only does 90, but it also does 30 to one of the opponent's bench. Its retreat cost doesn't really matter, apart from the fact that you can't Heavy Ball search it, I suppose. But, okay, what do we got here? We have got a guy that tanks with the best of them, does good damage to the active, enough to KO an electric at the very least, and does spread damage as well, and gives any of your guys that has dark or rainbow style energies attached to them 0 retreat. So this is used in so many different decks for so many different purposes. I believe this was a 3 times world winner, if I remember rightly, because it wins this one with Igor Costa's deck. It wins with Jason, I think, in the next year with just pure Darkrai, and I'm pretty sure it took like 2014 as well, or maybe it didn't. I don't know. I think it was, if it wasn't winning, it was at least in like top areas. Absolutely ridiculous card. And yeah, it just does kind of everything. You might think the damage output seems a little bit low, right? I did shit on Entei for only doing 90, but it's the spread damage that really helps this out. And it also has a tool in this set, because this is Dark Explorers after all. Right above it here, Dark Claw lets you do 20 more damage with your Dark Pokemon if it attacks the active. So it can do 110 if it needs to. And also Dark Claw means it gets around the Eviolite, preventing 2-hit KOs. So yeah, you can go aggro with this thing too. Really, really strong. Speaking of strong cards, Tornadus is actually insane as well. Only 170 HP, so a little bit on the frailer side, but it's a colorless Pokemon, so it doesn't actually take the usual 2 color plus a colorless that these guys need to attack. And that means it gets to use DCE, which is very, very good. Lightning weakness is a little bit annoying, but fighting resistance is very solid, so you would often see this in the Eel type decks, because yeah, it hits for what it needs to, and it resists the thing that kills that deck, so pretty good. 1 retreat, very solid, and especially on this guy, because you will want Sky Arrow Bridge in play if you play this. Because its first attack for a DCE only does 30 damage, but it does 60 if there is a Stadium card in play. Now, first off, shoutouts to another Pokemon that will one-shot a baby at the start of the game, and also, speaking on that, Darkrai, its snipe damage would one-shot baby Pokemon too. So with this set coming out, if they weren't already dead, and they're dying to rotation, but if they weren't already gone, baby Pokemon should never be played in 2012 Worlds format, because of stuff like this. But your evolving basics aren't safe either, because if the opponent has Sky Arrow DCE in their starting grip, this guy will one-shot any evolving basic, and it will one-shot Celebi as well. Makes it very difficult to play that sort of deck. It's not the only thing that's good about it though. For any free energy, Power Blast does 100 damage. That's better than like all of these multicolored cost dudes. If you flip Tails, however, you've got to discard an energy on this Pokemon. What they freaking do, right? Like, if you play this in Eels, then that's just fodder for a discard, Pokemon in discard. This attacks with the DCE too, so it is just ridiculously strong, to be honest with you. Really, really wild effect on this. We have a couple of shinies in here as well. God of War, Archeops gets us out. I mean, Archeops is not going to see any sort of play whatsoever. And Pokemon Catcher, this is funny actually that this has the original print on it. Because you would think with these being, mostly at least, these are scans from the PTCGO stuff, right? So PTCGO has the errata. I want to say maybe it doesn't have it for Catcher. I don't know. I haven't looked at PTCGO in forever because RIP is leaving us very soon. So yeah. Trainer cards, there's a lot of good stuff here. Charon gets a reprint. Actually, there's a few, like Charon, the Juniper, and all get reprinted in here, so that was really good for the player base at the time. I mentioned Dark Claw is a tool, so you know, it's nice to be able to just attach that when you need to. Dark Patch is ridiculous. This is, I think, what Energy Pickup really wanted to be, but they just didn't want to go that far at that time, I guess. Attach a basic Dark Energy from your discard pile to one of your bench Pokemon on a goddamn item. What were they thinking? My god. So this is what makes Darkrai so ridiculous, is the fact if you can actually just get a turn 1 Night Spear if you manage to get enough of these and like Junipers and stuff like that. Busted out the ass. Stupid, stupid card. But, I mean, we're going to see it a lot as we go through, because dark stuff is very good in this era, so yeah. Enhanced Hammer, Funny that it's got the Pokemon League stamp on here. I guess this is just a scan that it has for this block. Discard a special energy from one of your opponent's Pokemon. We have this in Lost Remover, but Lost Remover is about to be rotated, so it's nice to have some special energy hate, particularly because Prism energy is so good. Right, we've got Prism, currently we've got Rainbow, that's rotating, but then we get Blend energy next round. And yeah, there are some decks that will just only play special energy, and this donks on them, so yeah. Hooligan's Doom and Cast is a very meme card. It is a supporter, so you can't exactly play it if you want to play a consistency card that turn. But if you flip heads, you shuffle 3 random cards from the opponent's hand into the deck after they reveal them. So, very, very annoying card. There's a meme combination in the next set that's like Salamence plus this plus Honchkrow that lets you strip the opponent's entire hand away. Just good luck with that though, right? You've got to flip heads on it. And it's a supporter, so yeah. Old Amber is here because Aerodactyl is here. Same stupid condition as the previous fossil, so very, very rare to see it played. Random Receiver is a really cool card. You reveal cards from the top of the deck until you reveal a supporter card, put it into hand. Rest of the cards get shuffled in. So this is obviously solid because it means that you don't have to play as many supporters. Rotation is going to take a lot of good supporters away from us as well, so don't be too surprised to see like a lot of this alongside just say 4N for Juniper and maybe 1 or 2 Bianca or something. You really won't see too many different supporters and stuff because we just don't have very many different ones. But this is an excellent way of making sure that you can still do all of your draw stuff and be really nice. So yeah. Red Candy gets its first Gen 5 reprint here. This now has the errata text. I've been playing with this one specifically so we don't forget the text on this thing. But yeah, it's got the official errata on it that was in from Black and White base. So we can't evolve into stage 1s and we can't evolve the turn that we benched a Pokemon. So yeah. Twist Mountain is an interesting stadium card. If you flip heads on this, you put a restored Pokemon from your hand onto the bench. So this is the way that they tried to make fossils playable. There is actually one that is playable in quotes. It's a bit of a meme pick, but we'll get to it. It's the Aerodactyl from this set, obviously, but we'll get to why when we get to that card. Ultra Ball also comes out here. I kind of forgot that this came out in this set and not like later on, to be honest. Ultra Ball is insane. You discard any 2 cards from your hand and you search your deck for any Pokemon. Put it into the hand. It is still in the format to this day and it hasn't stayed in the format the whole time. But it is still around and it is still absolutely bonkers even now. And this, of course, lets you discard energy for, say, Darkrai, so that's going to be a really huge one to Dark Patch. It lets you search for any Pokemon, so you can get your evolution lines, but you can also get the huge basic stuff as well. Anything that Heavy Ball and Level Ball cannot search for, this goes for, so that's really solid. And yeah, discard synergy, really, really good too. So fantastic card. A little bit expensive to play in this exact format, but we'll still see play anyway because the card is just too good. But it can be a bit tricky because you're already discarding for Junk Arm. So yeah, maybe the discards get a little bit too much at the moment, but it's still insanely good. On to the rest of the Pokemon. Grass types do actually get a couple of noteworthy ones here. We have Shelmet with 3 energy as its retreat cost, so Heavy Ball and Level Ball searchable is pretty solid. And then Excelgor. Technically a card you can play at the moment, but the deck is extremely convoluted and doesn't have its best components yet. Excelgor is a 90 HP Pokemon, so Level Ball searchable, 0 energy retreat if it happens to get switched in, it's pretty good. And the main attack is Deck and Cover, which for double colorless energy does 50, auto paralyze and poisons, and then you shuffle this Pokemon and all cards attached to it into your deck. You don't typically attack with the Excelgor, but you certainly can. It is a grass type after all, so like Sunflora could search it. That's kind of cool, I guess. Difficult to get the evolution line going turn after turn though, and you really need to item lock the opponent so they can't play switch, because otherwise you're probably in a bit of trouble with it here. Keep an eye out for this by the end of next year's sets, because this actually did do very, very well at US Nats the year after with Gothitelle Excelgor. And yeah, it's gonna be seen because the deck is just very strong, and yeah, it's annoying, but it is what it is. On to the next stuff. I mean, there's evolutions in here as well, but they don't really do anything too great. Unfortunately, Blaziken just isn't strong enough at this point. 130 for free energy on stage 2. Yeah, no, it doesn't have its own acceleration either like it used to, so that's a bit of a shame. There's a Volcarona in this set that puts more damage counters on burn Pokemon. I suppose that's kind of cool. You can Heavy Ball Search it as well. There is a Larvesta that can be Heavy Ball Searched as well. So maybe the idea was to play that with Entei originally, but that's just a bit too clunky. Oh well. There's a very stupid Slowbro in here. If you have 2, 4, 6 prizes left, this Pokemon can't attack. It's not even that good of an attack anyway, so I don't know why they put that restriction on it. The line is Heavy Ball Searchable, I guess, but obviously doesn't do anything. Let's talk about an actually good card in Empoleon. So Empoleon has a lot of good traits going for it. It is a stage 2, which is a little bit inhibiting, but it's just about got everything you would want otherwise. And I think Sai is wanting to play this one, so we'll see it, no doubt. 140 HP is respectable enough. It can still survive most hits. Diving Draw is really good. Lets you discard 1 card from your hand once per turn and draw 2 cards. It is trade. I think this might be the first time that we're seeing this exact version of it, but yeah, it's just trade. And Zoroark GX was one of the strongest cards of all time, and this has got the same effect. It's just it's on the stage 2, so it's a lot harder to get multiples of this out. But we have Junk Arm in format that I guess could get the red candies and stuff back, so yeah, I think there's still plenty of potential for that. And then there's Attack Command. For just a single Water Energy, this attack does 10 damage for every Pokemon in play. Where have I heard that one before? It's no wonder that Sai wants to play this, because he played Jumpluff as well, and it's the exact same attack as Jumpluff. On a 140 HP guy this time, and in a format that's relatively good for it too. You have Mewtwo would only do 60 to this if it doesn't have any extra energy attached, and you can effectively do like 100 to 120 to most things. It's solid. Makes the opponent play very differently around it, so yeah. None of the other water type stuff is any good here. I think this Jolteon might have seen some play in X and Y base, because there was an evolution deck in the Plasma era that this works pretty well with, since there was the capabilities of one-shot Yveltal EX, but that's a ways away. We've already mentioned a Raikou. Minun is somewhat interesting. I do remember this seeing very small amounts of play here and there. Electro Shower does 10 to each of the opponent's Pokemon for 1 lightning energy, and it's a basic that does it this time, so yeah, that's actually not bad. Most of the time this has always taken 2 energy in the past, so that's why it's noteworthy now. Electros was something that occasionally saw play as a one-of in the Eels decks. Slurp Shakedown was the reason for it. Very expensive, but 2 lightning, 2 colorless, forces the opponent to switch. You choose what comes in, and do 60 to the new Pokemon that came in. So it was a gust and extra damage on as well. That was the main thing for it. It was fine. Mostly just as a game ender sort of card, really. Very good against Celebi, actually, so kinda cool. Espeon, the Solar Revelation ability, we actually see this on Espeon VMAX nowadays as well. Prevent all effects of an opponent's attack except damage done to each of your Pokemon that has any energy attached to it. Some people did tech this because of Vanillix decks and other paralysis based stuff. You could tech this in to defeat Excelgor if you think Excelgor is going to be like that big. Otherwise, yeah, there's a few things, I suppose, like the opponent can't retreat, the opponent can't attack, etc. Like Cobalion would be kind of messed up by it, so yeah, there's a few bits for it. Cofagrigus is interesting but not good. It's the awkward 100 HP to retreat, so it's like, it's the lowest it can be without being level ball searchable, and it can't be heavy ball search, so rip that as well. For a DCE, you discard as many tool cards as you want from your hand and do 40 damage for every one you discarded. Very, very hard to keep this going. You need 5 tools discarded in order to one-shot EXs, 6 if it's a Darkrai with an Eviolite on it, and you are weak to Darkrai as well, so it's very, very mid, to be honest. We don't have that many good tools in the format, and we would want to keep the tools we have in hand, I think. So, yeah. Here's the Aerodactyl. It's 90 HP, so it's level ball searchable. That works with Twist Mountain. And Ancient Scream is plus power. And that's why you play it. Your Pokemon's attacks do 10 more damage to the active Pokemon. If you can get a couple of these out, you are going to be just permanent. Yeah, permanent plus power is really good. So, solid stuff. There's an Excadrill here that's kind of okay. I do remember this seeing like a little bit of video time at the very least with Puka. Tunnel Strike, 30 Snipe, okay, whatever. Dig Uppercut for 2 fighting does 50, and you put any one card from your discard pile into the hand. So, it's mostly because it's a fighting type, and that does hit relevant weaknesses. It is Heavy Ball searchable. There's not a Drillbur that's Heavy Ball searchable, but the Excadrill is, so I guess there's that. And yeah, it's a fighting type that hits not really enough damage, but it does hit 2 shots on Darkrai, doesn't get 1 shot in return, and lets you pick up stuff like Crushing Hammers and whatnot, so there's probably some use for it there. Unfortunately, the other one really isn't very good. 80 if you've got a tool attached for fighting and 2 colorless. No, thank you. Other Dark type stuff that's pretty good in here, because this is Dark Explorers after all. Sableye is insane. No weakness, no resistance. Once again, Sableye gets a good card. Why? I don't know. 70 HP, a little bit low, but it's high enough that it doesn't get 1 shot by Tornadus without damage mods, so that's neat, I suppose. Confuse Ray sometimes comes up. Colorless to do 10, and if you flip heads, it confuses. That actually kind of sometimes matters, like Dark Claw can make it 30. And that, yeah, I have seen games won because of this. And then Junk Hunt is the main attack. 1 Darkness Energy, put 2 items from your discard pile into the hand. That can be Catcher, that could be Dark Patch, that could be Ultra Ball, Level Ball, stuff like that. Yeah, there's a lot that you can do with this guy, and he is very silly. And then the other card to mention in terms of Dark types is the Zora line. So Zora has only 50 HP, but the difference between 50 and 60 usually doesn't matter. Dual Splash technically KOs this, so that's a bit of a shame, but you know, 2 Night Spears is going to do the job anyway, Blow Through does the job anyway. It resists Psychic, so it's a little bit harder for Mewtwo to take this thing out, which is kind of okay. And yeah, it's mainly here for Ascension, because for any, you know, like 1 Darkness Energy, you just evolve the Zora. So that means you get to either the Foul Play Zoroark, or you get this one, who for 2 colorless energy does 20 for every Dark Pokemon you have in play. 120 for a DC! Really, really good. Dark Rush is also kind of nice if you can survive a hit. You do have 100 HP, so Vanilla Darkrai doesn't KO you, and there's a couple of attacks you could survive. 2 Darkness Energy, 20 damage for every damage counter on this Pokemon. Most of the time it's just Brutal Bash is what you're using, and it is sort of annoying that you're at 100 HP, because it means you don't get the ability to Level Ball Search this. But yeah, card is solid, but tends to get outboxed. I've been trying to make this work for the video, for battle stuff here. Unfortunately, it's just losing to basically every other deck that I've been playing against. So I probably won't be playing it as much as it pains me, because I loved this deck when it came out. And maybe next format it'll be a little bit better when stuff like Junk Arm is not as prevalent. I don't know. We'll see. And then finally, the only other things that I want to note in here are the Clink and the Clang, and I want to note them because they have a free energy retreat cost, which means Heavy Ball is very good for that deck. I mean, we already have the Groudon and Kyogre Heavy Ball searchable as well, and the entire Clink Clang line is Heavy Ball searchable, so you get to get your main dudes without actually having to discard cards in that deck, which is really good. The actual Clink Clang in the set is terrible. Like 20 for every Metal Energy that's on this Pokemon with a 20 base damage just isn't going to cut it. Right, you just leave yourself too vulnerable to Mewtwo. And Lock Gear, yeah, draw until 6 is fun, but 4 energy for 60 damage, are you fucking kidding me? Like, that is Gen 2 levels of good? Yeah, no, Gen 2 had that sort of bit in it. It's just not worth it now. I guess there's a Blissey that lets you flip to heal 30 for new active once per turn. That's kind of cool. Heavy Ball searchable. The Chansey is also Heavy Ball searchable. So if you want that, sure. If you want flips for Bad Debt Monday, Continuous Tumble is your guy, right, for this Chansey. Flip until tails, 30 for every heads. It's not Heavy Ball searchable though, so I ain't playing it. And that's it. The set has actually a lot more playable cards than you would think. Even though Darkrai really does like completely steal the show here, there's more variety in this format than there was in the previous one. So I'm sort of looking forward to this. There are a couple of decks I would like to play, so that's better than last week, right? And it won't be Eels this time, 100%. You could play Eels with Tornadus and Raikou-EX, but I ain't doing it because I have other stuff that I actually want to play this time. So yeah. Thank you very much for watching. Hopefully you found this informative, and until next time when we go over the rotation and its impact, yeah, tune in for that, and take care.